see, hell might well be very unpleasant, but the alternative to hell is far too horrible to contemplate. The alternative is submission, real death, death of the spirit, what religion feeds on and craves. Pascal only makes his way here in the first place because he's been intimidated into it by the threat of eternal damnation, which I already embrace as the lesser of two evils. So I have no need for Pascal or his wretched wager. Pascal says you might as well bet on God because you lose nothing and stand to gain everything. It sounds attractive on the surface, but I reckon Pascal's bookie must have seen him coming because the moment he takes that he loses religion, which is what religion wants him to do. And his motivation for doing so is pure, naked fear. Pascal found a clever dick way of rationalizing it by calling it a wager, but in truth there's no wager. There is only craven capitulation under crude threat and punishment. Pascal is a clever man, a famous mathematician, but he might as well be an idiot, because he lets religion use its only weapon successfully against him. He knuckles under to fear. He caves in. He submits. And he's in with everything, because it's an all-or-nothing game. So, as we say in England, he's done his bottom, he's done his rent. He loses. The God of the desert is such a deeply unpleasant character. I'd be ashamed and embarrassed to find myself turning to him, even after a few beers, for any reason other than to give him the finger, which is, by the way, what I do give anyone claiming to be his representative. He has no representatives. He doesn't exist. I can't prove it, of course, but I have faith. He's so obviously man-made, this guy. It's embarrassing. You can tell from the human limitations. Vengeful, narrow-minded, petty, ego-bound, quick to take offense, incredibly stupid. He's got our fingerprints all over him. Look at the way he behaved the very first time we stepped out of line way back in Genesis. The entire race is permanently banished, and a curse is put on all future generations. Even Gaddafi wouldn't go that far, would he? Okay, maybe a bad example. But am I the only one who thinks that's a gross overreaction on God's part, and a pretty obvious sign of insecurity? And if God is insecure, he's not perfect. And if he's not perfect, he's not God. So even if he did exist, he'd be an imposter. God reacts as he does in the Genesis fantasy because it's the only way he can react. He has nothing else in his locker. And that's because he was created by primitive, superstitious, desert-dwelling savages with no conception of civilization or reality as we understand it. If they found themselves in the modern world, they would die of fright. Yet we still allow them to impose from the grave their laughably narrow and ignorant worldview on the whole of human civilization. We must be insane. The argument for religious faith would be an insult to an ape, let alone a human being. So why is religion popular? Because it's easy to explain to idiots. Magic always is. And, of course, to true believers. A third of the population, so it's reckoned, who have a need, who want to, and who've taken a solemn vow of God-ability. And these are the people who, when push comes to shove, will warn you with comically grim foreboding that you'll turn to God when you're close to death. But if I were making a wager, I'd be inclined to bet that they'll turn to God when they're close to death and find nobody there, except maybe old Pascal, religion's favorite monk hunter, endlessly tearing up a betting slip. And these are the people who keep warning me about the horrors of hell. Well, you know what they say. You get what you both say. Enjoy it.
Mom's bringing kitty food home. Could you make sure he gets fed when she gets home? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Definitely objected. I don't know that they were military. I'm trying to speak out as much as I can. I would think that over time, as this message gets out, hopefully, somebody else, with a good enough voice to get out there as well, that we're former military. We're not going to stand for this kind of thing either. It's just another face of what I think that the administration's just really not doing a good job of handling the information, and they're using it for their own reasons.
Right, because you're background of emergent security, what should the country be doing now that it is or isn't doing to make sure that we're not the subject of backlash attacks from Al-Qaeda over the next weeks and months?
Right, and I thought about that. Obviously with this recent raid and against bin Laden, really the threat of another terrorist attack is going to increase, whether it's here at home or abroad. We deal with our clients in emerging global security with a lot of businesses that are proactively trying to take a look inward at their workflow within their facilities, that they're either renting office spaces overseas. They want to carry out a facility threat assessment. Even businesses here in the United States that want to be proactive and utilize our consulting services, we're trying to help them by just thinking outside the box, performing a vulnerability study, getting some terrorism awareness education where we can bring in a specialist, and in a lot of cases we can bring in
Elizabeth?
terrorists who
What's up, babe? I was going to head over if you're okay. Okay. I'll be there in 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to stop by the village market and get a newspaper unless you want me to take you down there. Oh, that's totally fine. I'm going there anyway. Okay. I'll be there in 10 minutes then. Okay, perfect. Okay, love you, babe. Bye-bye.
trip overseas.
Hey, James, tell people where your website is.
AmericanGlobalSecurity.com. Feel free to Google it and to find our information. Feel free to call in and ask for any kind of advice. We perform, like I said, threat assessments for businesses all over the U.S. and around the world.
Very good. James, thanks very much for your service and thanks for your time today. Calling you from California.
I sent an email earlier today and told me to call in, and it was about, I've been having bill collectors call me, and they call my boss, and
Do you owe them the money?
I do, and for the, what's left over after my insurance, but, you know, they just kept calling, they kept calling my boss nonstop, so I gave them a call, and I updated my account information, and I told them that, you know, I have a new boss. I gave them Nancy Pelosi's phone number, and